Hi, I'm Paul from pdhsports.com, leading online racket specialist, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Fran, part of the Padel company and distributor for Robin Soderling. Also, I know you're a little bit coy about it, but former world number 125, was it?
That was my top ranking.
Yeah, so
10 plus years ago.
Obviously an expert, and Fran is going to help me today to deliver some reviews on the Robin Soderling. Now, obviously, this particular one, if you just introduce the racket that I've been using a lot.
Yeah. So this is the 2023 Simon Vasquez edition. So it's the RS Pro Edition, which lies right at the top of the range, along with the Calle Rocafort. For those of you who are not familiar with Simon or Calle, they are exceptional players, probably top 150 in the world at the moment, and just all out good guys. Fantastic sports people. So initially, my first impression on this racket when it arrived was the finish. I mean, it's incredibly Swedish. Thankfully, it didn't come flat packed and you had to assemble it yourself. So yeah, I think the design is really minimalistic. I think it's really clean. The gloss and the matte, kind of satin matte on the edges, the contrast is really, really nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, the bronze kind of rose gold color does give it some life to it, but then again, it's maintained with the white and black, and they're not that outlandish with the colors, which is nice. Paul and I have just had a knock around with it, and it's one of my first times using a racket like this. I think, firstly, the elongated grip is something that is definitely worth mentioning. It's about 1 centimeter longer, which meaning when you go for the overhead, you get that extra leverage effect going over, which I reckon, I mean, my physics is not up to scratch, but I reckon you get about 10 to 15% extra power, obviously with the inertia of the racket flying over your head by that extra 1 centimeter. Moving slightly further up to the neck, you've got the connector in between, which adds an element of rigidity to the racket traveling through the air. These have come out, these side, I think if you can get closer to the camera, these come out in a bit of a point, which help the aerodynamics and helps the airflow come through the racket by creating, again, physics isn't up to scratch, but vortice creators like this, sort of like a leading edge like you see on planes, boats, and anything that has to move through a dense or a variable density material, all have the same. And yeah, I think this actually adds a lot of support to the racket and gives it that firm feel. Now, although I called the racket firm, moving up to the face, now it's 12K carbon, but they've mixed it with the adaptive Eva Core. It's a surprising racket for me to use because I expected this to be a very aggressive, very stiff, very aggressive attacking based racket. And I mean, I don't know. How did you? I felt quite comfortable at the back line with this. And
well, I mean, I was getting very impressed with your detailed review of that. I mean, it's a racket that when we've had it since like the start of the year. I mean, like you touched a little bit on the cosmetics. I was instantly drawn to the way it looked, but like I said off the camera, I wanted you to tell me why I liked it so much. But all of those things, I find my game is better when I'm confident overhead, and this racket does give you that confidence overhead. But also, I am a touch player, so I find that for a racket that's supposed to be a bit of a power racket, I haven't sacrificed any of my feel around the court.
I think that's really important with a racket like this, because you either get two opposite ends of the spectrum. You either get one that's a bit too soft and you still get the balance up at the top. Yeah, you get the power, but the EVA foam and the carbon, that mixture is integral to, that combination is integral to the amount of power you can generate on the ball. Obviously, the 12K carbon, the compression ratio is so much higher than obviously 3K, 8K, 10K, etc. So you actually get that rigidity and stiffness at a low speed. But then the adaptive EVA core as well allows for actually a more forgiving kind of playing style from the back line. If you're locked into a corner and you're getting played low shots against the wall, you can easily save yourself with this racket, I reckon. I mean, that's a personal thing.
Yeah, I mean, one thing of like, I remember the first time I used it, my return is, I mean, I like to play on the backhand side, and one of my, I like to sort of just bunt the ball back up the thing, and I found I had, like, within seconds of using it, that was something I really liked about the racket, the feel and the control I still had.
Yeah.
So.
No, definitely. It's another thing actually. I know I mentioned about the aerodynamics at the bottom. Looking at this now, the holes around the outside of the face are actually marginally bigger in diameter than the ones that are found slightly further central. Obviously, I don't know if you've ever seen the Valian Born Summon Prisma, the top of the range ones actually cut out part of the racket around the edge. This is where the air resistance becomes greatest at the point that the racket's under pressure. Now, when the racket's under pressure, i.e. an overhead, kind of this point here, the racket, it's under so much pressure. Colliding with the ball, the carbon's stiff, it's moving through the air, there's momentum pushing the racket up into the air, the carbon, the rubber, everything about it's stiff. There's no flexibility like a piece of paper in the wind. This is integral now. So the reason these dots are bigger is to allow a slightly bigger airflow or a slightly larger amount of airflow to come through the racket and help with that speed coming through the air. So obviously this is surprisingly a well thought out racket.
Yeah,
if you ask me.
Yeah, no. Well, let's say it's been really popular for us, and as myself, like it's been one of my go-to rackets. Right, so there you have an extremely detailed review going into the spec of this Robin Soderling racket. And of course, this is available at pd8sports.com.